Right, let's go back to the story now. The sentencing of a former bookkeeper who stole over 500 million rand has been postponed to tomorrow. Hildegard Steenkamp pled guilty to over 336 charges relating to fraud and theft. In fact, she stole the money over a period of 13 years from her previous employers, Medtronic. eNCA reporter Hloni Mtimkulu is following proceedings and joins us live right now. Hloni, good afternoon. Welcome to Today. Bring us up to speed. I mean, how did she get away with it?
Yeah, William, so court has adjourned. We were hearing now the arguments for sentencing in aggravation and mitigation of sentence, and we heard initially from the auditor from Deloitte. They were employed by Medtronic in 2017 after a whistleblower had submitted a report in terms of this, and then the investigations then happened and all of this was revealed. He said that she must have gotten away with it because her early managers or her previous managers put a lot of trust in her, and then also that, the documentation that would have needed to be signed by those managers would have been buried in a sea of other documentation. And so basically they would have been missed. And that combination of being trusted as an accountant in the company, as well as the large amounts of documentation that this international company would process, then opened her up to be able to do all of this. They said 336 counts of theft and fraud that they found amounting to, as you said, William, more than 537 million rand. Only 30 million rand was able to be recovered, and that wasn't even in cash but in other assets. So it has been a big loss for Medtronic, but we heard today that if they weren't an international company, then, if it was a local company, they wouldn't have been able to survive that. But because they were an international company, they were able to absorb those costs, William. So she was trusted, as well as all the documentation. That was how she was able to get away with this amount of the scale of the fraud that she conducted between December 2004 and December 2016, William.
Thanks for painting that picture, Hloni. I mean, I'm standing here and I'm wondering, and I imagine the viewers also wondering, why did she do it?
So this is the thing that today, when she was being questioned as the witness, she ended her testimony by saying that, from her lawyer, by saying that I feel bad and I'm sorry, I wasn't brought up in this way, I am remorseful. And if she was placed in a similar situation, would she do it again? She said no. And she did get emotional when she talked about that. But why she did it? She has been painted as remorseful, as that she was in an abusive relationship with her former husband. So her former husband lost a contract that he had with government, and he then needed to pay his own vendors from his own company. And because when she had joined this company in 2004, the handover from the previous person, that previous employee had mentioned that there was some loophole there in terms of how the tax at Medtronic is reconciled. And she had told her husband, as husband and wife do when they are talking. And so he then prompted her. This is what she says, that he then prompted her to do this thing because he needed this money. He said, I've lost this contract, I need this money. And so she did it once, she did it twice. And she wanted to stop at some point. She says after about the third or the fourth time, I wanted to stop, but I couldn't because my husband wouldn't hear of it. She says when she told him that she wanted to stop, that very night he then hit her, he assaulted her. And every time he wanted to stop, he assaulted her. So she was in an abusive relationship, she says, and her husband was a domineering, threatening husband. His own colleagues knew this. He worked in the police force as well. And so she was scared to go to the police because he had connections within the police as well. So, and then there was a suicide attempt as well. She had tried to take her own life because she wanted to stop and she couldn't. And when she came out of hospital, he still continued to abuse her and threatened her children as well. So that's what we are hearing, just in terms of the mitigation of sentence and why she would have done this, and painting this picture of someone who was essentially forced into this situation, William. She was, though, questioned by the prosecutor about this, saying, you seem to be blaming everyone else, but yourself, and you're blaming your husband, your deceased husband, who isn't here. And she says, well, he was under investigation by SARS, and I didn't know this. And so, it's painting a picture of a marriage that was had its issues, that things that she didn't know in the marriage, and that just kind of forced her as well to say that, well, he is to blame for this, even though he isn't here, William.
Hloni, now that you mention all of that, we've got the bite of her talking about and explaining the abuse that she experienced in her marriage. Let's listen.
Hy het my al begin slaan van omtrent 1999 af. Hy het baie buiteegtelike verhoudings.
Excuse, you're going too fast. Yes, take it slowly, yes.
He already started with the assault from the year 1999, so it was continuous.
En toe ek vir hom sê ek wil dit nie meer doen nie, is ek geweldig aangerand daai spesifieke aand.
When I had informed him that I do not want to do this anymore, I was indeed assaulted that very evening.
En ek het daai selfde aand 'n oordosis pille gedrink wat my in ICU laat beland het vir 5 dae.
And I did, on that very same evening, took an overdose of pills, which landed me in ICU in hospital.
How about that? 537 million rand over 13 years stolen from Medtronic. That was eNCA's Hloni Mtimkulu. Thank you so much, Hloni. We will touch base with you much later on.